Welcome to Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two best friends recap romance novels while excavating some shockingly encyclopedic knowledge of the 50 Shades franchise. Hey HBs! This week on the bonus feeds, Sabrina is gracing us with more quickies from the Sea Sand Warlord series by Ursa Dax. We've got more lizard boys, more kangaroo boys, more mating revelations from Lavrika's menstrual pond. It's glorious. That's this Friday on the Patreon and Apple Podcast bonus feeds. Today, we're bringing you a bonkers contemporary that I have a lot of thoughts about. Let's get right into part one of Bared to You by Sylvia Day.
Listener,
Oh.
we're coming in hot today, and we're just coming in to also say it's a good thing we're not doing a book that we both hated.
Yeah.
Because, boy, it would be a spicy episode, and not like a sexy Stevie spicy. It would be a... can they legally say that without being sued? It's kind of spicy.
You know what, though? It is going to be a very particular flavor of spice because I didn't hate book, but I was exhausted.
I was literally Melody.
Exhausted.
Okay, so one, I would like to publicly apologize first of all.
Okay.
For letting the random number generator lead me astray and give us another fucking book in the span of like a week that is not a standalone HEA.
Yeah, that's one thing.
Listener, I pulled 2 books off of our 5-star rec list at random. I number generated it.
Yeah.
And it gave me these 2 books, and I was like, Melody Carlisle, here's the books we're doing.
Yeah, that's the amount of bandwidth we had for next books. That's where we're at.
Except Melody did give me the free range. She said, hey, do you want to do one of the aliens you've been really obsessed with lately for pod? And I was like, is that
a thing we can do?
Any of them?
It's our
and
podcast,
she was like,
Sabrina.
Why not? And I was like, I know exactly which one. I knew you
would too.
Oh. Anyway, but yeah, so like I just random number generated, and then we hadn't even talked about when we were recording, listener, and then this motherfucker texted me Monday night and was like, hey, are you good to do Bared to You on Wednesday? And I was like, it was like 8 p.m. and I was like,
well, because we've set up like a standing recording on Wednesday, you know? And so I was like, what is a thing I can probably have read by Wednesday, I guess? Like, let's see.
Well, Melody was thinking, what can she get read by Wednesday?
Right.
And I was like, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean,
because it's been a chaotic week. But anyway, by the way, spoiler listener, this has no effect on you. As far as you're concerned, it's Monday, but it is in fact not Wednesday.
No, for
it's
sure
been
not.
A hell of a week for us both. But yeah, she was like, what about Bared to You by Sylvia Day? Because that's on the list. And I was like, yeah, sounds great. No idea what either of these books are. No idea. I just know that like random number generator was like, hey girl, how's these 2? And I was like, they're on the list. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, we asked the fates, and this is what we were given.
Melody, when I got to about 85%, and I started going, oh no.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that this book ends with this book. And then I watched those like pages counting down, and I was like, it was like page 285 out of 325, and I was like, uh-oh. And then we got to 295 out of 325, and I was like, no. And listener, we did Bared to You by Sylvia Day.
Look,
and
this is
it
going
is
to be
in fact a 5-book series.
Jesus
about the same
Christ,
couple.
about the same couple. And like, let me tell you right now to your face, listener, nothing happens in this book. This is a hard type of book to recap because nothing happens. It's like we go to dinner and then we go to work. And then I walk out of this thing because I get mad over the same issue. Wait. But I have to say that this episode is going to be a particular flavor of spice because it's not often that I come to the podcast with a thesis statement. Okay?
Okay, before your thesis statement, because it's going to be a lot more well thought out, I did not come
I don't know that it's going to be well thought out. Like, let's not put the bar that high. You know what I mean?
Okay, well, we'll let you set the bar then.
Okay.
What is your thesis statement? And then I'll make my statement, because I also have a statement.
Okay. My thesis statement is Bared to You is a better written industry response to the 50 Shades extravaganza from when it was indie pubbed. Like before it was picked up by traditional publishing. The timing works out perfectly. Trad Publishing was like, oh
this
shit.
Came out in 2012.
Yeah. Oh shit, this thing is happening. Which one of our amazing authors is going to write the shit out of something that's kind of similar, like pretty similar? Please see if they're willing to do it, you know?
Did you read You listened, didn't you?
I listened, yeah.
There's like a 6-page author's note.
Okay.
At the beginning of this book, explaining where this book came from.
Okay, what did it say?
Her inspiration.
Yeah.
Apparently.
I don't know that I'm going to believe it if it's not. I wrote this to piggyback off the 50 Shades extravaganza, which I'm not throwing shade at all.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
Please, write to trend. Write shit that's going to get, bought or whatever.
Yeah, because guess what? It's popular for a reason at that time. Anyway, the point is so apparently she had 2 characters that she had to write for a historical novel, a deadlined historical novel that she couldn't get out of her head. And so they rolled around in her head for a long time and started taking shape. And then she wrote this series for them. And they became their own people. They are no longer even, like, they're based, like, they're the seeds of their inspiration were these 2 characters and some other historical that she wrote
from her brain,
like
a historical that she was gonna write but then didn't write, but then
no, she did write it. But she didn't get to spend as much time because she had to write it for a deadline. Like it was a thing, and so she
plucked them out of that timeline and then put them in 50 Shades of Grey, the universe.
And then
hey, Sylvia
them
Day.
Out pretty significant.
Hey, Sylvia Day, I have so much respect for you, and I just don't believe you. I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for writing the author's note. I bet there's a lot of true stuff in it, but like, I don't believe you. Like this is so obvious, and I have like 20-point list. But the other thing is, not only
I'm so excited for that because I was aware. I was waiting for his red room. I was waiting for his red room the whole book.
Yeah. So, but and here's the other thing that I'm going to say is that it is absolutely a response riding, the coattails of the 50 Shades blow up. But the first book actually respects the conventions of romance as a genre.
Oh, yeah.
And so I appreciate that because first 50 Shades of Grey book ends on a fucking breakup and I wanted to punch everyone. So anyway, at least this ends on a happy for now is what it does.
It's an HFN.
Okay, so look, I'm going to start breaking this down. Yeah.
My statement, Melody, is significantly more succinct than yours.
Than mine. Hey, we stopped in the middle of mine to go on side tangents and talk about author's notes and stuff. I could have been succinct. You want me to say it out loud in a succinct way? Bared to You. Bared to You is a industry response to the 50 Shades of Grey blow up when it was indie pubbed. 50 Shades of Gay? I bet that's also a thing. I bet that's like a tingler kind of a situation.
Tangents. Okay, restart. Give us the succinct. Okay, come on, Melody, we can do this.
Bared to You is an industry response to the 50 Shades of Grey blow up when it was indie pubbed, except that the first book respects the conventions of the romance genre.
Okay.
There you go.
Are you ready for my succinct?
Yeah.
Halfway through, I really needed an exhaustion nap.
I mean, exhausting.
These people, unsurprisingly, I probably enjoyed this more than Melody did.
Yeah.
Unsurprisingly.
Yeah.
But, my God, I was so emotionally exhausted by these two people.
Yeah. I was just like, I just like, things don't have to be this fucking hard, you know? Like,
well, and
you're
like,
just toxic for each other, period, the end. You just shouldn't be together, period, the end. Do you have any questions?
Like, literally, they met, and then, like, things started happening, and there's a couple of points that I'll bring up as we go through the book, but, like, I was just like, none of this is unsurprising for the characters, right? Like, the character or like these characters, who they are as people, none of this is shocking, okay? Like, she does a great job of, like, all of the stupid bonkers shit that they do to each other in this book tracks. It tracks for that person.
And it's beat for beat. It's beat for beat with 50 Shades, too. Beat for fucking beat. Like, the formula is there, and she did it better. It's a much better written. It beat for fucking beat. I'm serious. So, okay, first of all, Christian Grey and Anastasia Steele are the characters there, okay? In this one, we've got Gideon Cross and Ava Tremaine. So I'm going to break these names down for you, okay? It's
Trammell.
Ava. What? Ava Tremmell? Tremell. It's Tremell.
Tremell.
Yes. Ava Tremell. Which, now that I think about it, what is... hold on, sorry. Is that Tramel? Or is it...
Mmel, I think.
Okay.
That's why I said it was such a hard, Trammell!
Yeah.
Ava Trammell! I can't wait to hear this because I've never read 50 Shades. The only time I've seen 50 Shades was when we did a Patreon watch party of the first 50 Shades.
Mm.
And so, like, I had no idea. You're about to open my eyes to a whole new world of book relations.
Okay, this is great. Oh my God, this is great. Sylvia Day, you are so fucking clever. Okay. So I didn't even think about this because I earball read it, right? But Ava Tremell, it's EVA, but it's pronounced with the A, very similar to Anna. And then instead of like the metallic last name of Steele, Tremell, the origins are back to like a fine grade fishnet, or it says it may also be used as a verb to mean hinder or restrain. So we've got some bondage cues from
we have
the one here.
Ava, bondage lady.
Yes. And then Gideon Cross. Okay.
Well,
so
yeah, we all know.
Well, no, but Gideon Cross, like literally, if you look at both words, it equates to Judeo-Christian. Because Gideon, the origins are Hebrew, and it's like for what was it? It's like he who cuts down or something like that. And like there might be like warrior connotations, but the origin is Hebrew. And then cross is the very famous symbol of what killed Christ. So we've got Christian Grey, Gideon Cross.
That's hilarious because I just fully was like, oh, we're doing a BDSM thing. It's like the cross, you know, like the
also that absolutely that also
Listener,
works.
Melody did research for this, but I just read book. I
was reading it and I kept on being like, I wonder why she did that. Do I think it's related to this weird thing? Because I have a weirdly encyclopedic knowledge of 50 Shades of Grey, even though I haven't like read it more than other books. I don't know why. I think it's because it was like such a thing and I talked to so many people about it at the time. But like, I don't know. I was just making associations where there were fucking associations. Okay?
This is fascinating.
Now, this is something I did write down.
Let me into your brain. Continue.
Okay. Would you like to know the
oh
beat
my God,
by
listener,
beat?
she
I
just
wrote this
whipped
down.
out a notebook.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to know my overall just like brain dump of the things that are similar / the same between the two texts?
I would love to know.
Okay, great. So, we already went over the names. Ava pronounced with an A. We have a fall down / like tripping meet cute, which is the same, except it happens twice in this book. That is one thing that's really interesting, is that Sylvia Day will use the same like thing, but then do it twice instead of only once, which I found fascinating. I don't know why. It happened with something else too, and now I can't remember what it was, but I might get there later. Anyway, Anna falls into his office before the fucking interview, and then she is like crouching and then is so like gobsmacked by his beauty that she ends up like on her ass on the lobby floor. That's one of them. And then the other one is when they're going into the presentation. She doesn't know that he's associated with the account and she trips and falls into his arms and he catches her. So that's another thing that's the same. Wow. There is some crazy trauma Olympics. Like, we're going to get real serious about content warnings in this.
Listener, content warning.
Yowza.
The fuck, yeah.
And like, Sylvia Day takes it even further because in 50 Shades, it was just him who was like real damaged. But in this one, they're both doing trauma Olympics, you know, against each other. It's ping pong trauma Olympics. So then the other one, maybe the biggest one.
Olympic trauma tennis?
Yeah, I like it. Let's do it. I think isn't ping pong also an Olympic sport?
In the Olympics? Is it really?
I don't know. Is it?
Wonderful. All right. Olympic trauma ping pong. That's fine too.
I don't know if it is. I might have fucked that up, but
hey, guess what?
There is professional ping ponging for sure.
Guess what, listener?
I learned that in Forrest Gump.
HQ has decided that prepare yourselves for the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles, California, United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
If it's still around then.
It's gonna include ping pong.
Olympic ping pong.
Yeah. Okay, so it's an insta-love book between a young billionaire with sex issues and a girl, like, at the start of her adult life. That's another one.
Okay.
It's an indecent proposal that turns into both of their first relationships.
He is such a closed-off little gremlin at the beginning of this book. I love him so much.
Oh my god. And then this one, you know, it's the same, like, my note is, oh my god, overwrought angst and runner / don't leave me. And it's just like a relationship merry-go-round, the whole book. That's the only thing that happens in the whole book. It's just a relationship merry-go-round and then like a formal event. Rinse and repeat. Man, there are so many fucking silver and gray ties. He wears so many silver and gray ties, I think.
Literally,
that
the
was
only thing
the
I know about a
image.
tie is there's one point, God knows when he's not wearing a tie. I don't remember anything about ties elsewhere, except when Carrie wears the leather tie. That's it.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
all I
Carrie
know.
wears a leather
That's all
tie.
I can think of.
And then he wears a tuxedo without a tie at one point, I believe.
I do remember that one, because it's like...
Yeah.
unbuttoned the top couple. Also, like, when I realized that this wasn't a standalone and that we were just following them for 5 books and I was not going to get Magdalena's book, I was not going to get Carrie Taylor's book, I was not going to get...
What do they have to do for 5 books? What do they have to do? What do we need to know about them for 5 books?
Emotional cardio, Melody.
And literal cardio. We do... You know what? One thing I really liked about this book...
There's so much working out on page.
Yes. One thing I really liked about this book is that it wasn't like hot person is hot, but can eat cake and pizza and, you know, whatever, and like has never seen a running shoe in their lives. She's like, hot person is hot because she works her fucking ass off at the gym, and you're going to see it.
And I'm still short and curvy.
Yeah,
because guess what?
Yeah. We've got a competitive, like borderline sinister other woman, which is the same as the old lady who sexually abused him and he didn't quite realize that's what was happening. There's a metric fuck ton of stalking and other major boundary issues.
My God. And I think my favorite thing is how Gideon, every time she's like, this isn't okay, he's like, what? But why?
Yeah.
Like, he legitimately doesn't understand.
It doesn't compute at all.
What is wrong?
And one thing I do love about this dude is that he's not even manipulative about it. He's just like...
No, he's completely upfront about all of it.
She's like, are you sorry that I'm upset or are you sorry that I did it? And he pauses and he's like, well, I'm sorry you're upset. Like, I really am not sorry for what I did.
It's very clear that he like goes through in his head. He's like, you can see the gears turning and he's like, which is going to be less upsetting to her, and then realizing I don't know what is less upsetting.
I'm just gonna tell the truth.
So I'm just gonna tell the truth.
Okay, wow, we've got a crazy overreaching therapist. In 50 Shades, he has this therapist that like goes to all of their family events and like all the bullshit. This one treats everybody in her family and also agrees to not only treat Gideon individually, but them as a couple simultaneously.
Okay, so I literally, when we got to that, I was my literal first thought was, I love my therapist. I've been seeing my therapist. This year makes 6 years, the same person.
Sure.
I love her. I would recommend her to anybody. If I ever do couples therapy, she not gonna be my therapist. Absolutely not.
No.
And also, I'm not using your therapist.
And
because,
most therapists would say that's a conflict of interest. I cannot do that if I see you individually. I cannot be your couples therapist.
I didn't blink twice about the therapist when, like, because, like, occasionally her mom had people come to do, like,
that's
a
fine.
session. That makes sense.
That's about her therapy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, anyway,
that was wild. It was fucking wild. Like, you have enough money, therapist. Sit down.
By the way, listener, Melody is sitting here like, I don't even know what we're going to talk about in this book. Listener, this book is bonkers. This book is insane.
No, it is.
Even if it's nothing but Melody and I hitting, like, a point and then being
baffled by it
for 10 minutes and then moving on to the next point.
No,
like
this book, it is deliciously bonkers, but it's one of those books where, like, there's no external anything. It's just like watching a person in their everyday life doing weird shit that billionaires do or whatever. You know what I mean?
This was such a wealthy
everybody's rich
and heroine.
Yeah, everybody's
book.
Rich. Okay. Oh, God. We've got a hero with a refractory period of a Texas oil pump. This guy...
he doesn't even get soft.
No. There's no softness. No. He'll go straight from coming to then, like, having a conversation with her while still penetrating her.
Hard.
Yeah. And then just, like, raring to go again.
Hard again. Let's go.
Absolutely. Man, there's a formal event confrontation with said other woman, except it happens twice. This is the other thing that's twice.
Because I was about to say that happens a couple of times.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God. And then while I was just doing this brain dump, he said something crazy and I had to write it down. So at one point he looks her dead in her beautiful face.
I can't wait. I have so many quotes about bonkers ass shit that gets said in this book.
He's basically being like, we shouldn't have boundaries because, like, we're an amoeba now kind of situation. And then he literally says, I spend a quarter of every day inside you.
Inside of you, sir!
You spend 6 hours a day penetrating her in some way?
At one point in the book, I did definitely pause after they woke up because I was like, because she states, I wake up the way I fell asleep.
Yeah, with him inside me.
Inside of me and on top of me. And I was like, does she just cockworm him the whole night?
And does he stay hard that whole time?
Good. Well, you don't have to be hard to cockworm. But
no, I know, but it helps.
If you don't move, it's fine.
Sure.
And it sounds like both of them, unless they're having a trauma dream.
What, they're
don't
just
move
dead?
In their sleep. Yeah. Some people are. It's horrifying.
Sleep like the dead.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I have some friends where I've literally held my hand in front, it's like, do I need to go find a mirror to hold this in front of your nose kind of thing? But anyway, no, like, if she cockworms him every night, then yeah, he does spend.
I guess, but, like, if not, Sabrina, what is going on that we're not seeing on page?
He's being facetious.
I don't know.
That's how I took
no,
it. It's
I
a
really
huge
think
exaggeration.
I really think he believes it, and frankly, it's a goal. Like, that's...
Well, Bud, it's a good thing that he could stop working today and
That's
never
fine.
have to work another day in his life.
Yeah. You can just penetrate her in some way for hours and hours on end every day.
Yeah, they'll just get a special chair that she sits on his lap and he can just live inside of there. He's gonna have the wet finger dick, after you've been in water too long.
Why?
That's what's gonna happen. If he's actually in there as much as
the penis?
No, it does not. But I'm saying that if he's in there,
right?
no, it does not. It doesn't just slough off like a.
Well, no, because it like happens to your fingertips, but it doesn't happen to your thigh. So, I'm wondering if it happens to the penis now. Hey, this is not going to be the last request I make, but heavingbosoms@gmail.com. Does that happen to penises?
I'm just gonna say
I don't think so.
That hypothetically.
Oh, would it happen more likely with a foreskin than a circumcised penis?
Hypothetically, you can get wrinkly fingers, maybe, if you're in there long enough.
If you're in a mucous membrane, you're saying? Or just in liquid?
All of the above.
Sure, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just hypothetically. You could probably get a little wrinkly, on your fingers. Hypothetically.
Sure.
So I can't imagine why it wouldn't. It might not be as obvious on a penis because there's so much extra skin. Except
they're already shriveled.
Except he doesn't really have a lot of extra skin because he's always hard.
Constantly hard.
HBs, you know how much I love cutting in to tell you about a new amazing romance novel. But today, I get to tell you all about a beautiful book about romance and the authors who bring it to life. If you've ever wished for a book that celebrates the heart, power, and sheer magic of the romance genre, I need you to check out The Happily Ever After Society. This isn't just a book. It's a love letter to romance novels and the incredible authors who bring them to life. This coffee table book features stunning portraits and interviews with 40 romance authors, including some of the biggest names in the genre, like Ali Hazelwood, Christina Lauren, Sarah McLean, Jasmine Guillory, Catherine Center, Courtney Milan, and so many more. The book will also have cinematic photography spreads from existing romance novels, including In a Jam by Kate Canterbury. We all know romance is the powerhouse of publishing. It's the top-selling genre, the one that keeps the industry afloat, and yet it's still dismissed and belittled. The Happily Ever After Society flips that narrative on its head. Y'all, it is the epitome of loving romance out loud. It's bold, it's feminist, and it's here to showcase the authors who've been shaping culture, championing love in all its forms, and proving time and time again that a happy ending is anything but trivial. Here's the really important part, though. The Happily Ever After Society is live on Kickstarter right now, and it needs our support to become a reality. They're so close to being funded. So, if you believe in celebrating romance, in giving the genre and its authors the spotlight they deserve, go check it out. Pledge today and be part of something that says loud and clear, romance is powerful, and we're not afraid to love it. The link to the Kickstarter is in the show notes. So let's back this thing and bring it into the world.
Okay, so look, I'm sorry if I end up saying Christian and Anna, but it's not my fault, all right? I didn't do this. This is just what I was given to read. But look, we've got Ava Trammell, and she just graduated college, okay? She's starting her adult life in New York City. She's just moved across the country, and instead of using, with her bestie, and instead of using all of the nepotism that is available to her with her high financier stepdad, she got a job on her own merits, all right? And that's what Ava's doing. She's going to start a job as an assistant somewhere. So she's right now, she's going to go time her walk to the office because she's a planner. All right. She's going to time her walk to the office before she goes to the gym.
Takes all kinds.
Something I've literally never thought of doing.
I've never lived in a walking city or like someplace where that would even be worth it. But like the thought, like the equivalent would be me being like, how long does it take to drive there? No. Not once in my life have I been like, let me go check to double check and make sure.
I think the only time I knew anything remotely similar to that is when I would walk to workout classes at my gym. And then I was like, what is like the literal last second that I have to leave my house in order to get to class on time?
I remember my very first year of college, I had an 8 a.m. class, and I, through trial and error, learned that if I rolled out of my bed at 7:51, I could make it to that class on time.
Yeah.
It could not be 7:52 because I'm not saying I got there early.
No. On time is on time at Heaving Bosom at HBHQ. Okay?
Yeah.
On time is within 1 minute of being late.
Yeah, and by the way, she doesn't live, like, so she refuses to take her family's money.
No.
So, like, they pay for her apartment multiple times, though. At the beginning of this book, she's like, I won't let them pay for all these things. And I'm like,
bitch.
Okay, so you pay for your own student loans and your lunches, but like they cover your apartment.
No, her
drivers.
Her poor police officer dad is the one that pays her student loans, but she fought for it, Sabrina. Okay, she fought for it and she lost. And no, she tries to be like, I'm plucky and I'm doing it on my own, and I don't think she knows what that means.
This is one of those things, like all of the things that I say that are snarky this episode, listener, I really enjoyed this book. I had a great time, even though I was mentally and emotionally exhausted every 10 pages. But, like, I had a great time. I will say, though, it did. So, I don't even know what comes out before this. All I know is that Mel gave me hell the other day at the end of the Dark Fever episode.
Yeah.
And at the end of that episode, I was like, I'm going to start the next book in the Dark Fever series, and I'm going to do that, but I'm also going to finish this series that I started on Pod. And then Mel was like, oh, remember that thing that we haven't talked about in 6 months? Yeah, the 2 books you said you'd read because blah, 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 blah. I finished this book. I got about halfway through this book. I got to the end of it, and I was like, maybe I'll keep going with it. And then it was like I paused, and you know those scenes in movies where they, like, to show, like, something is happening in the person's brain, they, like, zoom out, like, really dramatically? That happened in my brain, but it was looking at all of the books that are pod related that are quote unquote on my plate.
Oh, I see.
Quotes. Because like none of this is actually on my plate. These are all choices.
It's all voluntary.
Right?
Yeah.
Except, yeah, even the stuff that Mel gives me hell about, it's still voluntary.
Right.
It zoomed out and girl, I finished this book, Melody, and my brain went,
nope.
You're not touching I'm not fucking reading anything.
Nope.
And I was like, wait, but I like reading. And it was like, you better go find something else to do. I watched a YouTube video. I finished this book and I watched a YouTube video. My brain was like, I'm not fucking reading anything. Because my brain was like, you're talking about reading like 9 different books for podcast? Absolutely not. My brain was
series
like
rabbit
on
holes.
Strike.
Wow.
It was on strike. And so I watched a YouTube video. It was great.
I just couldn't figure out what the fuck could possibly happen in 4 more books. Other than like maybe her getting pregnant or like we have to find out.
Because I had to know if this was a them.
What do you mean a them?
Like if the whole series is a them.
Oh yeah. And if you look at each blurb, they're all roughly identical. Have you noticed that?
I did look at them.
Did you notice that? They're all identical.
Yeah. The premise of these characters, their entire 5-arc romance,
they're exhausting.
Appears to be get close, get scared, run away.
Will we? Won't we? Merry-go-round. I have abandonment issues. We gotta stay together because abandonment issues. Oh no, you've attacked me. We should still get together.
I may return to this at some point, but I even stopped reading. Like, this was the nail in the coffin of reading for pod outside of what I have to read for pod right now. And my brain went, No.
No, we're not doing that.
Absolutely not. We'll revisit this in 6 to 12 business months.
Yeah, here's the amount that I'm curious about this couple from here in the future. And that is, listener, have you read this series? Because I have several questions that I just need you to email me at heavingbosoms.podcast@gmail.com. Please be a friend and let me know who did the abuse on Gideon is a big question I have.
Was it the brother?
I don't think it was the brother.
Was it the mom?
Was it the dad?
Was it the dad, the guy in that sweater?
Who then who ends up completing suicide when he's a kid? Or is it that he doesn't complete suicide and
oh my god, I thought you were
Christian
talking about the stepdad.
Gideon kills him. Do we think that
God,
happened when
Melody.
I don't know. I have listen, be a pal. Listener,
I do have a lot of questions.
just tell me what happens in the rest of the series. Does Magdalena get more sinister? And what's up with the brother and her teaming up to do bad shit to their relationship? Does that keep going? I feel like it does. Is there anybody who
it
comes
ends
out
after the video thing? I thought that Magdalena was fine by the end of this book.
This is my question. I don't know.
They're not friends.
Because
by the
Mrs.
end of
Robinson
this book.
in 50 Shades is not ever good by the end of the book.
Well, okay,
This is the parallel.
Are you saying that Magdalena is the one who sexually abused him?
No, for sure not. I'm not saying that it's identical. I'm saying it's parallel. So I'm wondering if Magdalena gets more sinister or if she's cool beans for the rest of the series. I want to know.
See, I thought she was cool enough beans by like page 285. I was like, man, I can't wait for her book. And then I looked and there is no book.
There's no book. It's all about these two idiots.
I'm so tired.
Does that other engaged bitch, does she become sinister at any point? His only other like long-term quote-unquote relationship, that French one, the one who lived in France for a minute, does she get more sinister? I have questions. Look, evenbosoms@gmail.com. I'm not going to read the next 4 books, but I would love for you to be my best friend and email me all your thoughts.
I might read them, but it will not be anytime soon, you know?
No, and I will have forgotten that I want to know by the time you read them.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that I'm gonna give you that information. I'm just saying, like, I'll probably at some point, like 6 years from now, stumble across it and be like, I never did finish that series. And then I'll go look at my notes and remember, just based on my notes, something about
that you
the book.
liked it okay.
And then
you were
I'll
probably curious.
Why not?
Why not? Just send me an email if you love me, is all I'm saying. Have you read this book? Do you love me? Send me an email with your thoughts.
Honestly, the problem is we keep ending up reading these things where, like, I have questions by the end of it, and I don't actually even really want to read all of the things to get the answers.
This is what I'm saying, and that's why I'm crowdsourcing this bitch. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Listener, if you love me, if I have ever made you giggle, okay, and you've read this series, please email me at heavingbosoms@gmail.com.
You wanna know what the best option here is?
What is it?
If this series, because apparently people love this series. If this series,
yes, it's world renowned. It's big times, is what it is.
I've never
so
even
many
heard of it.
Goodreads reviews. Me neither.
But if this series is your special interest, I will set aside like an hour or 2 of my time on a weekend or an evening.
Yeah.
And I will we can get on a Zoom.
Yes.
And you
oh my god,
just
special interest at us. I would fucking love that.
Special interest at us. And I want to ask you 800 questions.
Yes.
I think I might offer this as a Dark Fever as well to Rebecca, because I don't know that I actually care about reading the rest of the series. I kind of just want her to tell me everything, you know?
That's sort of where I'm at too. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, considering my brain's on like book strike.
Yeah, apparently.
That's not a fucking option.
Right.
If I read it, it's not going to be until like 2082.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Okay, look, we're roughly 45 minutes into this podcast. And
that is
we need to go.
Dramatic.
Shush.
It is 37 minutes.
And we need to get moving because so many things happen even though nothing happens. And so we are going to be motoring quite a bit. But this is our meet cute. She ends up trying to like help this lady in the lobby of the Crossfire building where she's going to be working. She's doing that timing thing we
Also,
talked about.
She shows up in just like ratty, comfy gym clothes to her very
No.
fancy work building.
No, I'm sorry. Sabrina's mistaken, but she's on the right track. This woman has never seen a ratty gym clothes in her life.
Okay.
She is in a
Her
twin
version
set.
of-
She is in a very coordinated, chic, super tight twin set workout situation.
Okay. All right. Melody is correct. Okay.
Okay. So anyway, this lady, this random stranger, she takes her purse and she throws it up in the air and all of her coins spill out.
It's like 52 card pickup, but it's her everything she owns. And so she's helping it out, and then she's like on her knees, and then she like, somebody is right in front of her with their fancy,
it's a
shiny
fancy
black
shoe.
shoes. And she looks up, and it is
The
the,
most beautiful
sexiest man she's ever seen in her life.
Man.
And he's looking at her like she's prey.
And she's so overcome that she literally launches off of her haunches, okay, because she's squatting kind of. And so she launches herself back and ends up flat on her ass on this lobby floor.
I will say, one of the most relatable moments in a book
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
that I've read in a hot minute.
Yeah.
Same, though.
And he's scowling at her, okay? And there's nothing doing on his face. He's scowling at her. He never smiles or anything.
I don't even think does he scowl at her the first time
Maybe
he sees her?
it's a
I think he's
completely
just,
impassive face.
oh,
I'm
just a
not
completely-
sure.
except for his lusty blue eyes.
Ooh, there's fire in his blue eyes. And I think maybe he helps her up, maybe? And
Yeah.
like, but he does not help the lady pick up anything for her purse. Okay.
Oh my god! And the lady
No.
immediately is like, very clearly, he is a stunning specimen because that lady
He's a
was
hot
in his
man.
pants. But
Yeah.
he won't even look at her. He's looking at
Ava in her coordinated workout twin set. And
And
so
they
she just
don't talk at all.
no, it just backs away slowly and then goes and like works out all of her lusty feelings at the gym, which we see in detail.
And then her best friend Carrie, who she lives with, is
Mhm.
delightful because he's like, oh man, that dark and dangerous man, just jack off to him. You'll get over him pretty quick. And she's like, I couldn't do that. And I was like,
Ma'am.
but like, what?
Why?
Why not?
And it's because she's not going to give him the satisfaction.
You will never know.
Yeah.
Touching himself to yourself to his face.
Come on.
So anyway, then she starts her job. She's like the new assistant for this like just promoted dude Mark at this advertising agency.
Yeah. He's great. We love Mark. He's never going to be sinister, and I stand by that.
Mark is adorable.
He's an angel who must be protected.
Although I will say it made me deeply uncomfortable how quickly they went from coworkers, boss and employee to extremely inappropriate jokes. And maybe that
Because he went from boss to gay
was
best
like-
friend. He's GBF.
yeah,
Except that like she reports to him, question mark.
it just, as somebody who has very, like, I've always had when I was a manager of anything, I'm not somebody who's capable of that. And so whenever I do see it, I'm like, like, oh god. I like glitch out a little bit. I like literally the entire time I was reading this book. Every time they hung out and he, like, somebody made a joke about like orgasms or like all sorts of stuff. They're like, they're definitely besties, not
Oh my
coworkers.
god. At one point, Mark looks at a server that they are getting lunch from, and she says, we should like hang out later. And he says, oh yeah, she says, because I can cure you. And then he says, oh yeah, well, you know what happens when you go black. And Ava is like horrified by this whole thing. And then we find
Spits out her drink.
Yeah, we find out that like it's a practical joke. This lady is his husband's sister, and it's just like a funny thing they're doing to Ava.
So hang on though, because that was explained as if that fixed the situation.
I know, right?
And I was like, isn't that worse? Isn't this
like a fun
worse?
prank that we're doing to our brand new employee? It's fine. It's fine.
She's been working here for like 2 weeks.
Anyway,
What?
so I know. Okay, so she starts her first day, and at some point, maybe a couple of days later, who knows? Mark
It's
finds
the end
out
of her first day.
Yeah, Mark finds out that he has been specially picked by this vodka company, even though he's like a junior salesperson or he's like a junior advertising whatever. He's been specially requested specifically to do a meeting about possible advertising for a vodka.
For proposal.
Yeah, for a vodka that nobody's heard of.
Oh my god, that was so funny to me when he was like, "Hey, Ava, what do you think about Kingsman vodka?"
Yeah.
And she was like, "I've never actually heard of it." And he was like, "Oh, thank God."
Oh my god, I feel so much better.
I was like, "Okay, cool. These are actual human beings."
Yeah.
By the way, before they do go to that meeting, though,
Uh-huh.
she does run into Dark and Dangerous in the elevator on the way down.
Alone.
They make eye contact, and he goes, "Ava," and she's like,
How
"How does he know my
name?
name?" Oh, wait, but he has my ID tag.
He handed my badge back to me when I did go ass over tea kettle on that lobby floor.
I wouldn't know that name of that person.
No. But notably, he puts his hand on the small of her back as they get out of the elevator. And then as she's looking at him, she's going to go meet her best friend, Carrie, this dude. And so he sees her meet up with a dude after work. So I just need listener to know that.
Oh, and her bisexual best friend, Carrie Taylor, is one, Exhibit A hot fucking mess.
Super, yep.
2, a hot fucking model.
Yeah. Like a Calvin Klein one of those models, like a GQ model, okay? Yeah.
So anyway, they get their last minute stuff put together. They end up going into this meeting the next day. And when they open the door, she trips into the room or something. Melody, take it over, because you remember this more than I do, apparently.
Gets to the door. She walks in. She ends up going first because she's the only person on their team with a vagina. And so they do the chivalrous, here you go, please go in. So she gets there and then she like stutter steps because she sees tall, dark, and sexy, dangerous. And because she stutter steps, Mark runs into her back. And so she goes forward on her stilettos. Oh no, what will she do on her stilettos? Don't worry, Gideon's there to grab her around the waist and pull her against his chest. And she can feel all the hard muscles on his body just, pushed up against her. And Mark apologizes for this. And he goes, please don't apologize. It was memorable. Shut up, Gideon. God. Shut up.
He's unbearable. I love him. And that's the craziest thing is I really like both of these characters, but God, I don't want either of them in my life.
No, get away.
I don't even want to be these people's friends.
Red flag central. I cannot with you.
I don't even want to be their friends because it would be so... I would hit a point very quickly where like Ava would be like, what do I do in this situation? I'd be like, don't go back.
Self-preservation would take over and I would be Kool-Aid Manning out of that relationship. Like, I feel too many of other people's feelings.
I'm too empathetic.
In order to have
so that's
a friendship
my issue
like this.
Is like, I'm like so empathetic but then I hit like, and I don't know what the limit is, which is why I try really hard not to hit that limit because once I hit that wall, it's like a switch flips and then it's all everything.
And then you just go sociopath.
I'm like, I don't care.
Suddenly,
what you need to do is this, and if you don't do it, then get your shit together. I'm gone.
Truly, it's a survival mechanism when you go from empath to sociopath.
That's like, really what it is.
There's
no in between.
No.
There's no in between.
No.
It is a sharp knife.
I can't do this anymore. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. And like, boy, to be clear, you have to push me so far to hit that point, but like once I do hit that point, it's all dead inside.
Yeah.
There's not a single emotion inside of this body. My heart has been like, all right, I'm going to Cancun for a week. I'll see you later.
Truly.
And by a week, I mean it's never coming back as long as this situation is happening.
Yeah. And once again, listener, by empath, I mean the mental and emotional like process of feeling external feelings. I'm not saying like I don't know. I feel like every time somebody says, well, I'm an empath, it's supposed to be like this, really good thing. Or, you know what I mean? Like I'm a good person because I'm an empath, I feel like is the association. And I just don't think that's true. I just feel other people's feelings.
I'm too neurodivergent for this. I just feel their feelings. I don't know what you just said, Mel.
Okay, fair enough. There's this like flex. I don't know. Maybe it was like a few years ago. It was this flex of like, oh, it's because I'm an empath.
No, the reason it's exhausting for me is I like live that experience in 5 seconds in my brain.
Yeah.
When you describe something as happening, I'm like, my brain takes me down the path of how would I feel in this situation? Like,
Yeah.
what would I like kind of thing? And I live it in my brain.
Yeah.
And then whatever exhaustion you got from it, I also got from it in the 5 seconds it took me to live that.
Yeah.
And it's a lot.
HB's Don't Skip Forward. There's a free book in it for you. You know those key moments in books where you wish the protagonist did something, anything differently? I mean, I think we all know that I would have made different choices for these characters today, but let's move on. Because now they can if you read on Zori. It's a new reading app that makes books interactive, putting you in the driver's seat of best-selling romance books from your favorite authors, like K.F. Breen, Skye Warren, and many others. This is an app where, as you read, you'll be presented with choices to make for the POV character. Everything from what to say, who to stab, to how spicy things get is up to you. Your choices matter, and they'll have a meaningful ripple effect across the book, influencing everything from which brand new scenes propel the book forward to unlocking bonus spicy content and even revealing alternate endings. Zori works with authors to add an entire extra book's worth of content into their stories, resulting in a personalized and agency-driven reading experience. So, re-experience stories you already know and love, or try something new. Zori currently features several romance subgenres, from Regency to rom-coms to paranormal and mafia. There's an interactive story for every type of romance reader. Zori was created by a husband and wife duo who, I'll have you know, are both romance book aficionados, and their mom and pop reading app is still growing. It needs our support. They've worked so hard to support the authors and artists by creating ethical terms of agreement that don't infringe on their rights, and they've made sure their books are priced accessibly for readers too. You can try a book for free today. Isn't that so exciting? Okay, you can try a book for free today if you use the exclusive Heaving Bosoms discount code HB2025. And each Zori book can be read and reread, remember, because you can make other choices and unlock more scenes from the story just for the price of an iced coffee. Check them out. I've got links in the show notes both to download the app as well as follow their socials, so get in those show notes and make it happen. You get a free book using discount code HB2025. Okay, bye, I love you.
Anyway, so they're at this meeting, and then there's this weird interaction where he's staring her dead in the face, and he's like, what proposal would you like? And she tells him, what is it, high-class vodka for the middle-class American or something like that, whatever. And he's like, yeah, that's my favorite too. And then everyone leaves, and he's like, wait, Ava, please stay for a second. And he's like, are you seeing anybody?
No, I'm so
sorry. He says,
no.
Are you fucking any?
Yeah. No, he doesn't say, Ava, will you please stay back? He looks at he looks at her boss and he says, she'll meet you down at your office in a minute. He does not ask her.
You are correct.
He does not.
You are correct. And then he does hold her bag. Everybody leaves. And then in this office, he looks her dead in her beautiful, traumatized face. And she says to her, are you having sex with anybody? And she's like, excuse me? That's none of your business. Why are you asking? And he looks her dead in the face and, quote, listener,
yes, please
says,
read it.
Because I want to fuck you, Ava. I need to know what's standing in my way, if anything. And she's like, and stomps off to the elevator.
Yeah, you being a fucking creep is what's standing in the way.
And he follows her to the elevator, and she's like, I'm not interested. And then he follows her onto the elevator.
Sir.
And the whole way down, he's like, but I really want to stick it in your wet pussy.
Yeah. And he's
her,
like, we've got an attraction. You can't deny it. And she's like,
animal magnetism.
Yeah.
and out of her body, she's like, out of her mouth hole, she's like, I'm not interested in having sex with you. But in her head hole,
yeah, in her head hole. Keep going. Nope, do it. Yeah,
in her head hole, she's thinking to herself, God damn it, he's right. I do have a wet pussy now. Why do I like him talking like that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And like, Ava,
we think the lady doth protest too much, and that's fine,
like,
Ava.
It's fine.
That's a fine line to stand.
He is a hot, aggressive, domineering asshole that I would run from.
But it is really jarring. Yeah, it's jarring. It's weird. It's creepy. It's uncomfy, is what Ava is.
Also, though, I would absolutely fuck this man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm weak. I am weak, and at some point, that wet pussy is going to be like, but like,
it's going to override everything.
What if I drive for a minute?
It's going to take over, is what's going to happen.
So anyway, he literally starts like pursuing her. He calls her at work. Mm-hmm. At her fucking office, and he's like,
because they work in the same building. She finds out that he owns this building. He's like a billionaire at 28 or whatever.
So then we find out they're in the elevator again. It's like the next day or something like that. And he's like, I want to talk to you. And she's like, absolutely not. And he's like, you're attracted to me. I'm attracted to you. Why are we not doing anything? Why are we doing this? And she's like, because I like to kind of know the person that I'm having sex with. And he looks her dead in her beautiful dramatized face. And he says to her, romance isn't in my repertoire, Ava, but 1,000 ways to make you come are. Let me show you. And she's like, sex is planned like a business transaction is a turnoff for me. And he says, establishing parameters in the beginning makes it less likely that there will be exaggerated expectations and disappointment at the conclusion. Are you kidding? I scowled. Listen to yourself. Why even call it a fuck? Why not be clear and call it a seminal emission in a pre-approved orifice?
Yes,
and
preach,
he's
Ava.
like, I mean,
touche.
That makes it sound so unsexy. And she's like, it is unsexy.
Yeah, now you see what I'm saying. Meanwhile, he's actively kidnapping her, okay? She was on her way back from lunch to her desk. He gets on the elevator with her, makes sure nobody is on that elevator. He mad dogs everybody else until they they back the fuck up. And then he takes her to the penthouse office situation with an override key or something ridiculous.
Okay, I have so many questions about the key. I'm like, can nobody get to your office except for people with the key?
I think that's the situation. I don't know. So yeah, so
you
now,
have to buzz them up to your place of work, Gideon.
Yeah, and so she's locked. At one point, she tries to open the door of his office and will not open.
He comes crawling up her back like a little spider monkey.
Yeah.
And then she turns around and looks at him and is looking up into his beautiful, beautiful feral eyes.
Feral, icy blue.
And he's like, I know you want it. And then he leans down and he gives her a smooch and she tries to push him away. She's like, no, get off of me.
No.
But then her wet pussy takes control.
Right.
And now she's making out with him.
Yeah, she's a sex pod person now. And so she's just climbing him like a tree, okay? Then he picks her up and throws her onto his sofa, his office sofa, and then he gets on top of her, and boy, they're dry humping like mad.
And then he shoves his hand up her pants, and he's like, I knew you'd be wet.
And he's like, oh, you're wearing garters. And I feel like the subtext was, see, you do want it. And like, that's none of your fucking business,
you do want it because you're
wearing So boy, woo, he's raring to go. And then I don't know why this phrase stuck with me so much, but he pulls back because, like, I think his secretary
over the intercom, his assistant is like, hey, your 3 o'clock is here, or your 12, whatever.
And so he pulls back and he's like, God, Ava, in my goddamn fucking office.
Sir, you brought me here.
And, like, pick one. My goddamn office or my fucking office. Jesus. Even their cursing is overwrought, Sabrina. My goddamn fucking office. I've not been able to get that phrase out of my head for 2 days.
Oh my God. That is so funny.
So she's like, look, I'm still not into it. I don't care what my body is saying. I, like, at the very least, sex does not
like,
have to
"You're
be
right."
within a relationship, but, like, it needs to have, like, mutual respect and, like, a little bit of knowledge. You know, it should be comfortable. We shouldn't be utter strangers.
Well, yeah, like, I'm not a blow-up doll. I'm a human.
Yeah.
And then this insane motherfucker, it is 5 p.m.
Yeah.
And she answers her last call of the day.
Yeah.
And he, over the phone, says, apropos of nothing. This is the opening
no hello,
statement.
No nothing.
I need to read you.
Please,
I'm so
read
sorry.
the whole thing. No, do not be sorry.
I can still feel you, Ava. Still taste you. I've been hard since you left through 2 meetings and 1 teleconference. You've got the advantage. State your demands. And she says, let me think. Nothing's coming to mind, but I do have some friendly advice. Go spend time with a woman who salivates at your feet and makes you feel like a god. Fuck her until neither of you can walk. When you see me on Monday, you'll be totally over it and your life will return to its usual obsessive-compulsive order. The creak of leather sounded over the phone, and I imagined him leaning back in his desk chair. That was your one free pass, Ava.
Oh my God.
The next time you insult my intelligence, I'll take you over my knee.
I'm not
I don't
into
like that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
He says, we'll discuss. In the interim,
Oh my God.
tell me what you do like.
Not
And
everything is
she
a discussion, Gideon.
She says, you definitely have the voice for phone sex, but I've got to go. I have a date with my vibrator. Oh, Ava. Cross spoke my name in a decadent purr. You're determined to drive me to my knees, aren't you? What will it take to talk you into a threesome with Bob?
With B.O.B.
And she's like, quiet, because she's like, I don't even know what to say to that.
Yeah.
Because a man not afraid off by a vibrator, what the hell? Which, like, fair, valid. And he's like, Bob and I have a long time understanding. When we're done with each other, we know. Oh, no. She said, this is what she says to him. Because he says, what will it take to talk you into a threesome with Bob? And she says, Bob and I have a long time understanding. When we're done with each other, we know exactly which one of us has been used, and it isn't me. Good night, Gideon. And then she hangs up that
fucking
phone.
mic drop. Ooh, I was
Listener-
proud of her in this moment.
Listener, that mic at some point gets picked up and cradled and never dropped again. To be clear.
And also, Bob is abandoned, which was a check that I needed to be cashed. If you're going to introduce a battery-operated boyfriend,
Melody.
and then you introduce a hero that is into it, I'm going to need you to show me
Melody.
some sex with a into it. What?
There are 4 more books.
I mean, fair. Yeah, that's fair. But God,
You
anyway.
don't know
Ugh.
if that check got cashed because you're not going to read it.
Oh, that's
hey,
true.
whoever it is that's coming on for our special
Is there
interest
vibrator
meeting,
times?
are there vibrator
Please
times?
make one of your bullet point vibrator times yes or no.
Yeah, straight up. Like, legitimately, if you're interested, as you're listening to this episode, just take notes on everything you want to
Please.
comment on, and I would love to hear your thoughts if you love this series. Because to be
seriously.
clear, this book is bonkers. I had a great time,
yeah.
even if I was exhausted.
Yeah.
You know? I had a great time the same way that I have a great time after a day of being out and about. You know? I had a
just a
fun,
full
memorable
day in amusement
experience,
park.
but, like,
You
my
come
God, I
back
need a
and,
nap.
Yeah, your feet are just barking at you.
By the way,
Yeah.
so we get to a point where Ava is exhausted. It's been a long week. It's a Friday. So, Gideon
And
has
she's
been
getting
being
it
a
from all sides.
gremlin right now. She finds out that her mother has been stalking her via her cell phone as well,
Yeah.
on top of all of this.
And we're getting these drips and drops about her traumatic past. And so she's getting the stalking from all sides. Like, not only is it Gideon, her mom is tracking her, and her mom also sees no problem with this whatsoever. And when she talks to her stepdad about it, her stepdad's like, well, she couldn't protect you when you were an innocent. And so now, she has to protect you to feel better about her anxiety and
Listener,
stuff.
It's been a decade. When we find out the timeline of everything that happened to her, it's literally been a decade. Mom.
Yeah, no, the mom,
Your therapist sucks.
if she can do anything, she can make everything about her. You know what I mean? Like, that is her chief talent above all else.
This is actually a superhero book, and that's her secret power, is victimizing herself, essentially.
Yeah. So, like, that's a subplot that's also happening. Like, she's going to try to take a Krav Maga class in Brooklyn. Oh, my God. Rich white people everywhere just freak out at around 2012 when this was written. It's true. And so, in order to make it... What? This was, like, Brooklyn pre-gentrification. So... all the rich white people would be like, Brooklyn? Whoa, what are you talking? Like, her mom is the person who would be like, no, it's not safe.
Interesting. I don't have that reference.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, it's okay. Anyway.
Yeah. So, anyways, at one point, her family puts all of the classes on hold so that the stepdad can pay out the nose to, like, make somebody else's, like, warehouse studio space more secure. And
he's putting up lights, he's getting a security system, all of these things.
And he's paying for all of it so that the mom will feel okay about her getting driven down there by a black car that they also, like, pay for and stuff. Like, they're wild.
Her mother's superpower is victimizing herself. Her dad's superpower stepdad's superpower is not acknowledging anything is actually wrong with his wife.
She's perfect in every way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because she's hot and skinny and blonde.
And, like, good on you, know what you like and like what you do.
Boy.
I guess.
So then she decides to go party with her buddy Carrie, and they're having a great time. They are walking around town, getting drinks. She drinks Stoli and cranberries when she's partying.
Yeah.
And they are walking down the road, and then this, like, weirdly well-dressed man with, like, a really fancy business card is like, hey, kids, I know this cool lounge down the street. Give them this card and they'll let you in for free. It's a promotion. They're like, cool, sounds great. Mm-hmm. So they go find this place. Okay, they get it let in, no cover charge, all of these things.
All their drinks are free all night.
They get taken to the VIP area, and then these two guys walk up to talk to her and Carrie. And then all of a sudden,
they're like, can we sit down?
Like the night, he comes out of nowhere in his sexy cashmere sweater and relaxed business slacks. And he's like, actually,
he puts his hand on her shoulder in a very claiming gesture. She's fine. She's all good here. And then Carrie's like, and then he looks at her best friend and he calls him by name. He's like, hey, Taylor, I'm Gideon, whatevers. And he's like, okay, nice to meet you. I've heard a lot about you. And he's like, oh, have you? Ooh, maybe that means my chances are good.
Carrie he immediately almost gets up and goes to dance. And then Gideon sits down on the couch next to her. And listener, one of my favorite things about this book, Gideon does not play it cool.
No.
A single second of this entire book.
He doesn't know what that means.
There is no, like, subterfuge about anything.
No.
Because she looks at him and she's like, I like the way you look. And he says, something you like about me. Is that a general like or of the overall package or the clothes or the sweater? Maybe it's the pants. The edge to his tone rubbed me the wrong way. And if I say it's just the sweater, and he goes, I'll buy a dozen and I will wear them every day. And I was like, I believe you.
I believe you nutter butter.
I believe you, Gideon.
And so she's like, well, that would be a shame. And then he gets really mad. Oh, he gets so mad. And he's like, why? Why would that be a shame? She's like, well, I really like you in your fitted 3-piece suits, too. And he's like, oh, yeah, maybe I shouldn't be mad. So she's like, hey, why are you here? ? Like, Also, how did that bitch know what I've been drinking all night? ?
Listener, this is when we find out how unhinged Gideon Cross
Actively
is.
stalking.
Turns out he owns a bunch of the bars that she's been to. He owns the apartment complex that she lives in.
Uh-huh.
And he has a flag on her name, I guess. So when she used her credit card to buy her drink earlier to this evening, this man went into full bonkers mode. And he's like, okay, this is what she drinks. I need one of my guys to go out there and give her this card. She's going to come in here. We're going to bring her drink. And then he doesn't even hide the fact that this is how he knows. He's like, I looked at your credit card bills and statements, and I know all about you because I know where you live. I looked at your application. And she's like, how did you get that? And he's like, I own the building.
Yeah.
And she's like, I feel like these are breaking privacy laws. And he's like, you gave it all to me willingly. And she's like, no, I did not, Gideon Cross.
Not for this purpose, for sure not. Oh my God. So anyway, he's like, what do we need to do to get you on this dick? And she's like, look, I don't need like flowers and romance and whatever. But I do need to, like, get to know the person I'm banging outside of sex hours. You know, we need to have, like, 2 modes. And I need to actively participate in both modes. One is sex mode. Sure, I like sex. And then he says, good, have it with me. And then she says, and then I need to get to know. The other mode is get to know person who's going to penetrate me. And, like, I won't look at it as a date. Okay, but, like, I would like to be kind of friendly or whatever. Oh, because she says this is where like the capital S, capital I sex issues come in. Because as she's getting more information from him, she's like, let me like make sure I'm on the same page as you. So you just segregate sex from every other part of your life. And he's like, I don't know what you mean. She's like, well, you have female friends. And he's like, of course. And she's like, but you don't have sex with them. No, of course not. And, like, you segregate work, you segregate your friends, you segregate socializing, and then sex is its own thing that, like, only some people go into. And he's like, yeah, I guess but yeah, I have good reason for it, though. And she's like, I'm not even, like, I don't care about that. I'm just making sure. I'm not trying, this, not my pig, not my farm, man, okay? I'm just trying to understand the motivation so that we can come to an agreement because, yeah, I do get all fluttery in my fanny parts when you're around, all right? You've got some pheromones that really, really speak to my ovaries, and that's just science, you know? So he's like, he's like, okay, so we can, like, do that, and then we'll also do sex at other times. And she's like, yeah, sure. And he's like, okay, well, I'll have my people get with your people, and I'll see you tomorrow.
She wakes up the next morning. Listener, I have to tell you about what happens the next day because it's insane.
It's
she wakes up the next morning and she's hungover as fuck. And when she gets out of the shower and Carrie's like, hey, there's something on the table for you. And she's like, what? And she opens the box and it just says The Cure or something like that.
It says hangover cure.
Yeah.
It's like a glass bottle that's like from an old time apothecary. So it's like hand calligraphied. Hangover cure.
Way.
And then there's a little tag that's tied to it by like twine, and all it says is "drink me" in the same calligraphy. A fucking
and Gideon's business card is in there, and on the back is his email, his home phone number, his cell phone number, and he says, "Call me."
Yeah.
So she ends up calling him.
She ends up trying to call him at the end of the day, right? Because that night they have like a big fancy charity gala to go to with her mom and stepdad and everything. And like the mom has set them up with duds and they go to the spa and they do all the business, right? So later on, like toward the end of the day, after she's been made up, she's got her hair done. All she's wearing is a silk robe that only comes down to the top of her thighs, listener, okay? And she tries calling him and he says, Ava, call the front desk right now and tell them that I'm on my way. She's like, what? I just like went to call you. What's happening? And he's like, I came to see why you're not calling me, why you haven't called me.
I'm on my way. I'm almost there. I'm around the corner.
Yeah, tell them I'm coming up. She's like, I guess. So she does.
This motherfucker. He gets there. He comes in. He comes storming into this building. Like Tornado Gideon. he rolls up to this scantily clad lady and he's like, you see a full body shiver because this man is incapable of chill. And he looks at her in this sexy robe and he's like, oh my God. And he says something. I don't remember exactly what. And he's like, you're blushing. I've scandalized you. And she says, yes. His smile was both wicked and delighted, and it made my chest tight. And he says, listener, he says to her beautiful, traumatized face, he says to her, I want to feel my cum in you when I fuck you with my fingers. Yep. I want you to feel my cum in you so you think about how I looked and the sounds I made when I pumped it into you. And while you're thinking about that, you're going to look forward to me doing it again and again. And she's like, her wet pussy is like, oh my God, I'm here for this. And he says, I'm going to tell you all the ways I want you to please me, Ava, and you're going to do it all. Take it all. And we're going to have explosive, primal, no holds barred sex. You know that, don't you? You can feel how it'll be between us. And she says, yes, please, Gideon. And, I forgot. This is when he's going down on her. He throws her on the couch and he starts fingering her. And then she comes. Yeah. Because he's like, all right, come for me. And she does.
Yeah.
And then she's
that's
like,
another thing. That's another thing that's the same. It's coming on command. That happens all the time in 50 Shades. And so then he goes down on her after. He's like,
yeah, because she's like, I can't come again. And he's like, I'm going to.
Yeah.
It's all.
Slurp a derp until you're done.
And then he makes her come twice with his mouth.
Doesn't
and
he
then
say, I've been thinking about this since I was born or something like that, right?
He's like, I was born for this or something like that. And then he finishes and he like closes up her robe and he like smooches her on the face and he's like, we're going to the gala tonight together since we're both going separately anyway. And she's like,
go
what?
Together. What? My date is Carrie. And he's like, not anymore.
And he's like, I'll see you then.
I'll pick you up at 7.
Off.
What? Good.
This man rolls in like a tornado, makes her come 3 times on her patent leather couch.
Yes.
And then fucks
demands
off
a date. Tells her there's a mandatory date and then fucks off just as tornado-y. Yeah. It's insane. So then she gets dressed and she's like, ooh, my mom's other superpower is buying super slutty dresses that are kind of classy still.
Her mom bought her a fucking moving vehicle dress. Yes. Is what her mom bought her. And guess what, listener? That check does get cashed in the next 3 minutes.
Yeah, because like something comes over Ava in the car. And so she straddles him. And then she's like, I need you. And he's like, whoa, let's slow this down. Like, this is going to happen after we go do polite stuff amongst company or whatever. And she's like, no, I need you right now. And so she gets him out and she rides him. And oh my gosh, it's the most. Look, he said it was going to be explosive. And here we are, everybody.
Oh my God. And his eyeballs, they've never been wider.
Oh my God. They bug out of his whole brain. Okay.
It's a wooga, but more of a, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. Yeah. I'm being topped for the first time in my life.
In his whole life. Okay.
Essentially, anyway.
Oh, gross. Yeah.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
No, I know.
This is like, this is like a legitimate.
It's his thing.
It's his thing. It's like he doesn't.
One of his trauma responses
submit.
Is he has to be a top.
He doesn't bottom. Like he's the dominant top in any sexual. He needs
control.
Control, Ava.
And so then afterwards, she like climbs off of him and sits down. She's sitting in her own goddamn puddle.
He pulls a fucking cocktail napkin out of someplace in the limo and just like mops her up and then sits down next to her, like cleans off his dick and puts it back in his pants. And then he just looks out the window.
He's gone. He's like almost catatonic, okay?
Mentally checked out.
And she is mortified. She's like, oh my God, I gave up the milk before he bought the cow, probably. It's, I think, how that works. And, like, he's done with me now. And, like, where did he go? And, like, I'm such a slut. And, like, why? I feel terrible about myself.
Yeah, because, like, the sex was great, but then he shut down, like, he said that he wasn't going to do, and so, like, clearly he was just pretending that we were gonna compromise until he got that dick wet,
That's the
and
one.
now it's over.
Yeah, now he's done with her.
They walk into this reception, listener,
And she's ducking and
immediately-
dodging, okay? She's doing rolls on the floor to get away from him, okay? The Mission Impossible
Stop.
music is happening in the background.
Stop, drop, and roll, baby. Bam, bam.
She's just she's under a table now.
Yeah, because, like, then she ends up meeting this lady, Magdalena Perez, who, she is also a little stalkery via friend assistance, because before
Oh yeah.
the next morning, Carrie had, like, printed off a bunch of stuff for her, and so she's read up on Gideon because everything about him is all over the news. He can't sneeze without somebody writing a report about
And
it.
like she's so confused because every woman she's ever seen him with has been a brunette, and he's notoriously gone for brunettes, but she is a flaxen-haired beauty, okay? She has the blondest
Naturally.
hair. Yeah, and it's natural.
Naturally.
She doesn't try for anything, listener, except that gym, okay?
She ends up meeting Magdalena Perez
Yeah.
in the bathroom.
Yeah. This is after she runs away from him no less than 3 times. And he keeps on finding her and being like, you keep running away. She's
Why are you running away?
I
And then
like
he ignores
this.
her some more and she runs away again. So she ends up going to the bathroom, and it's a bathroom way, way away from everybody.
Yeah.
And she's alone in this bathroom, and when she gets out of the stall, Magdalena Perez is standing there.
And she's nothing like her, okay? She's tall, and she's willowy, and she's like naturally elegant, I think, probably. And she's got this long, dark, luscious hair. And she says he has 2 types of women in his life. Wonderful ones that he spends time with and likes their brains, and then slutty whores that he
stops caring about you
uses
the
and
minute he
loses.
fucks.
Yeah.
And then she pauses and she sees the look on Ava's face, and she goes, "You let him fuck you already."
Mm.
And she's like, "Wow, as if I'm not already reeling from the fact that tonight's a whole thing."
Yeah. Magdalena says, you've had sex with him. And she comes back with, and you haven't. Which I did kind of love.
Uh-huh.
But Magdalena's
but
like,
then-
it's because it's my choice, because I want to stick around and I'm going to marry him someday.
I'm here for the long game.
Yeah.
And then Eva is pissed, and so she runs away. And this time she doesn't run away within the gala.
No,
She
gone.
runs away. She goes all the way
Roadrunners.
home. She doesn't answer the phone.
No.
She has like 20 gazillion texts. No, not yet. Not
One
yet
of
from
them.
him.
I mean,
The next day, she wakes up and she has like a gazillion red roses with a note that says, "I'm still thinking about you." And she's like, "Oh my god, maybe I'm not nothing." After he dipped his wick.
But also, like, she's just so fucking confused. She's just getting so many mixed messages because he's just hot and cold and all the business.
Because that's what he's giving. He's giving mixed
That's
messages.
the one, yeah. So she goes to work, and then when does he stalk her next?
So this is when he calls down and he's like, "Come up for lunch."
Oh,
and
yeah.
she's like, "No, buddy." And
I have
he's like,
plans.
"No's not an answer. I'll see you in 15 minutes. And she's like, "No," and goes back to work. And then
Yeah.
he shows up in her office 15 minutes later to be like, "Hey, you're coming with me." And Mark sees and he's like, "Oh, Mr. Cross, what are you
Hey.
doing here?" And Gideon's like, "No worries, Ava's coming to lunch with me." And Mark's like,
And Mark's
okay."
like, Ava, blink twice if you need assistance. And she's
And
like,
boy, she doesn't blink at all. She gives him just this, because boy, she
Those
wants that Gideon
pheromones.
boy.
okay.
So they go upstairs and they have this like conversation about like what they're willing, basically what the compromise is going to be, and like he wants her, and she wants him.
he's like, I'm gonna compromise and I'm gonna do whatever it needs to be. And he's like, is this when he says like, what do you want? Right? Or he's like,
yes,
I want you. And like, do you
Uh-huh.
want to be with me?
Well, and yeah, he's like, so I didn't handle our encounter in the limo well. And she's like, what
was just
happened? And
bowled
he's
over.
like, I'm not telling you
just
anything
never-
meaningful.
Oh.
And then she's like, okay, well, I will try. And he's like, I'm not just looking for a try. I want to be in a relationship with you.
And she's like, you've told
"But
me
what?
18, the only not mixed message I have gotten from you up until this point is that you do not date. and you don't do relationships, and I don't do relationships, and neither of us have time for relationships. And like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he's like, everything's changed since that car fuck. And like, I'll do anything for you. I'll make you happy and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I guess I have a boyfriend now because suddenly I've made more hours in the day. I guess I wasn't as busy as I thought I was.
Yeah,
Like,
they
what?
decide to make it work. And I really liked this, that Ava looks him dead in his beautiful traumatized face and tells him, I have jealousy issues, so your chick Magdalena might be an issue. Like,
Yeah.
because boy, she is a jealous, possessive little thing.
Well, and she's like, also, this is how she spoke to me, and this is what she said to me, and it was fucking bullshit. And like, if we're gonna be together, then you're gonna need to pick sides, basically.
Well, and I love that she was upfront about
Yeah,
it. Like,
same.
they do not, listener, neither of these characters hide their
No.
instability from each other
No.
in any way.
I just need you to know that they are making all of these choices with eyes wide open.
Eyes wide open. Which, you know what? I love that for them. I
God.
did have to take a break after that.
Oh,
I was like,
Jesus.
okay, all right. Like, I feel like all the way up
guess
until
this is what
now,
we're
it was
doing.
like the roller coaster is like, cut,
Oh,
cut,
yeah.
cut. And then now they're like, all right, we're gonna be together. We're gonna be together forever.
We're just gonna be in
and
free
then
fall.
it's just,
Yeah.
Our hands are all in the air. And we
Yes.
are headed straight into the ground. So they end up doing like some makeout, whatever. They end up going to his gym because they decide they're going to go work out together.
Yeah. He has to
Because they
penis
have
circle around her athletically now.
Yeah, and so they show up at the gym, and it's his gym. He owns Cross Trainer,
He owns the
Which is
whole franchise, okay?
which is in the Crossfire universe, the upscale fancy Planet Fitness.
Yeah.
It's a chain,
Yeah.
and they
Way better than
work
Equinox.
out. There's like a
Like-
little thing. Some guy flirts with her, and he like comes up behind her, and he's like, because the guy is like, "Hey, I'll give you the tour of the place, like, so you can decide if you want
Yeah,
to stay."
he's
And she-
doing
and-
his work job right now.
And he comes up behind her and he says, "That's kind of a given when you're the boss's girlfriend." And she's like, "He just said the G
Lay
word."
the smack down, Gideon. Okay.
And boy, they are so horny for each other, and they get out of that.
He says, go
gym.
shower. And she says, no, I want to smell all your stinkiness when we fuck. So, like, let's go find somewhere real close so I can get up all in those cheeks, right where all the sweat is. And he's like, yeah, get your shit and we're going. There's a hotel right around the corner.
No, he doesn't even say it. He doesn't
No.
even say that. He takes
Yeah.
her outside and he leans her over his arm and gives her the most dashing romantic kiss.
Yeah.
Chick, 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 chick. Photos everywhere. And then he
Yeah.
like grabs her by the hand and they go running around the corner right into a hotel that he apparently owns. And up
And he
the
doesn't
elevator.
need a key. He already has a key on him, all right?
He whips out that card and he lets them in, and then he throws her and is trying to get her out of her. Frankly, I want a bra that works that well. That's
Right.
just a single bra. What the hell kind
I know
of
exactly what
monstrosity-
bra she's talking about. I'll send it to you.
Does it work?
I don't know. I don't have bazingas, dude. Everything works for me.
Oh,
That's not true.
wow.
I can't do like the teeny tiny yoga bras or whatever. Like I need more than that. But that's only because I've breastfed, and now they flop. You know what I mean? But as far as the bazingas are concerned, I don't know if they
Wow.
work or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listener, if you know what bra we're talking about, it's basically a torture device, it sounds like, to get in and out of. But apparently, boy, it holds those luscious
It's the
bazingas
one that
in
has
place.
Velcro straps. So you can like pull them all the way up if you need to and like really strap them down. So, yeah. So he gets her out of all this stuff and then, boy, he goes down on her, I think. And then he fucks her
Boy, he
missionary
goes
style.
down on her sweaty vagina, and she's like,
And she's like, no,
absolutely
no,
not.
no.
And he's like, I'm so sorry. You thought my sweat was sexy, so why is this weird? And then he does nuzzle straight in and lick
Feasts.
it all up right out of that cleft.
Yeah.
So then they have sex, and he gets up to go shower, and she's like, I'll join you in a second. And then he leaves.
Uh-huh. And so she does a snoop. Of course she does.
Yes, and she decides Or she realizes suddenly, like, this is not the kind of hotel that would just have condoms in the drawer.
Well, because she sees condoms in the drawer with the Bible.
That's also specifically where he pulled it out of. He knew exactly
Yeah.
where those condoms
And she's
were.
like, this also isn't the kind of hotel that, like, rents by the hour. And also, he didn't even, like, see which rooms were empty. He just knew this one was going to be empty. She's like, oh my God, I have to go check the closet. And so she opens the closet, and it is just a mini sex shop with, like, some dude clothes.
This is a fuck pad.
Yeah, this is resident fuck pad. This is where he brings all the brunettes, okay?
Listener, boy, I don't know why she bothered going to the gym, because the amount of cardio she gets in this book every time she runs from this man, I don't know how she
To be fair,
gets
at one
enough
point,
calories every day.
I know, at one point when she's running from him, she decides to use the stairs because he always corners her in the elevator. And she says that that's going to replace the gym that day.
Mood.
Going
Mood.
down
She works on like the 13th floor.
Yeah.
So
she's
she
like,
leaves,
oh
and
my God.
she's
No. Not only does she do that, she takes all of the sex toys in her hands and she throws them onto the bed. And then she throws the condoms onto the bed and she finds some lube and she squirts it all over the bed. And then she leaves. And
she
so
does?
No, she doesn't squirt the lube, but she does everything else.
Oh my God. I was like, how did I miss that?
That's Melody
What?
fanfic.
And I think it's canon.
Yeah. So she despondently walks down the street and then she's like, you know what I need? I need a noodle. I gotta put a pizza in me. I'm
And
depressed.
then she actively doesn't get a noodle. She does, in fact, get a margarita pizza. And she's crying into her beautiful pizza and delicious wine. And then she pulls out her new phone.
And this was the most New York thing ever, though. This was so believable. Deciding you're in New York, you're just gonna sob in public, and everyone's gonna leave you alone. Okay? Nobody's gonna ask questions. Everybody's just gonna be like, yeah, it's really hard to have privacy here. We're just gonna let her cry. She's crying into her carbs right now, is what she's doing.
I mean, I would have assumed they were happy tears, frankly, with a delicious pizza like that.
Oh, come. She's
Anyway,
too jealous and possessive, and she's like,
oh boy,
he didn't build me a new hotel to fuck me in. He brought me to a hotel he already owns.
Whoa, okay, hang on. Justice for her.
I know,
okay?
no, I agree.
So
I'm being a dick.
She looks at her brand new phone. The only person in this phone is him, because they bought this phone on the way to the gym.
To replace her mom's stalker phone.
Yes. She answers. She already has 21 missed calls and like 18 missed text messages
Jesus
from him.
Lord.
And he calls again, and she answers, and she's
Ava,
like,
where are you?
Crying on the phone, and he's like, "Where are you?" And he sounds panicked.
He's absolutely
He's not
panicked.
okay.
She might have been trafficked, Sabrina. He has no idea. And so meanwhile, she's such a dramatic bitch, though, because he's like, "Where are you?" And she's like, I don't know. Like, she's a drunk lady at 3 a.m. not knowing how to, like, get her friends to find her and save her, rescue her. I don't know.
God.
You walked less than 5 blocks and you're in an Italian restaurant, ma'am. Go 5 steps outside and look at the fucking sign. I don't know. What's across the street, dude? Don't be an idiot. Everything is across the street.
She
Jesus.
describes it a little bit. And all of a sudden, he appears in the window with his phone. I could see this so vividly, because he's wearing like a haphazardly put on pair of jeans out of that.
And they're fuck jeans.
By the way, oh my God, by the way, she is wearing nothing but one of his button downs.
No, is that true? No.
Yeah, isn't it? She's wearing like just a button down and a belt or something.
Stop
or like
it.
she put.
Yeah, I agree, but I had no idea until this moment.
She does this like twice, because she does this now and she does it the other time when she walks out in her fucking sex robe.
Yeah. Oh
So
my
anyway,
God, yeah.
she shows up to God. I
Her
can't believe this
sex robe.
Italian restaurant let her into work.
She
No,
might
you
be
know what it is?
barefoot.
I can't believe that they gave her a glass of wine, ma'am. You are cut off from beginning.
I mean,
I'm
honestly,
pretty sure,
you're a
like,
hot
can you
mess.
pay for
You
this?
have to be
Like-
drunk.
So he comes in and he's like, "Come on with me," and she caves immediately. because
Immediately.
she's like, "Why did I ever leave you?" And I'm like,
I know
did you ever go
exactly why.
back?
I know exactly why. And she's like, you treated me like one of your brunettes, and I am obviously a blonde. And he's like, okay, come
You're
home.
slutty brown-haired
Yeah.
whores.
So he's like, come home with me. The only woman who's ever been there is my mother. So she's like, I've never heard anything more romantic.
Okay, so she goes home with him, stays at his house. He has his first nightmare. This is when we start realizing that he has nightmares when he sleeps.
Ugh.
And the next morning,
And
whatever.
they're like on big
Sexual
content
trauma
warning
nightmares.
because
Yeah.
it's really almost lucid sounding the way that his dialogue is written with these nightmares. Like it's obvious that he's in the moment and he's like actively trying to talk this person out of it and like fighting it and like begging, and it's awful. But
it's rough.
but it's really lucid. So she's like, I know from Carrie that you should never touch a man in the middle of a PTSD nightmare. So she's like, get in.
Oh my God, her best friend.
Wake up.
Carrie. I thought you were talking about the horror movie for a second, and I was like, what?
Oh, no, that was just religious abuse. Go ahead.
So they're at work, and she decides, Melody, I have a story for you, because she goes to him, and it is a framed picture.
Yes.
She gives him a framed picture of her blowing a kiss at him, and she
in
says,
a bikini.
it's so that you always think of me, and I'm always there for you.
Specifically because you had a nightmare at 3 a.m. And there's like a clock face on there that has a 3 a.m. on it.
Well,
this
and
thing
also,
is the
like,
weirdest shit.
I never want you to feel like you're alone. And I was like, don't worry. He's never going to be alone again. You guys spend every single night together from this
actively
point.
Inside you for 6 hours every day,
6
man.
hours a day.
Anyway,
so she hands but like I couldn't get over. I was like, what the actual fuck?
Yeah,
it gets worse,
way
listener.
super into it though.
Pictures get like way weirder, listener, after this. So she gives him that. Then there's this photo that's published of them doing that smooch right before the hotel.
The dip smooch.
And she's like, oh my God, I have to talk to him. I have to tell him, like, I can't be in the public eye because
there's stuff that
of
people
my
can
history.
find out
about
me and that will embarrass him.
Yes.
And so she goes over to him and she's like, oh my God, have you seen the picture? And he's like, yeah, I super set that shit up. I made sure that they all knew what your full legal name was. I didn't put your SSN on there, but I was tempted. And now everybody knows that I'm yours. They do have your
credit
mine.
score, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Good job on that 850.
Yeah. No, he's proud. You know what I mean? It's a flex.
Uh-huh.
So she's like, no, Gideon, you don't understand. We can't be public. We either have to be totally private or we have to end it. And he's like, I don't know what you think about this relationship, but it's literally never ending. I'm never going to be done with you, and you can't break up with me, and so no.
And she's like, this is the best thing ever, because to be clear, listener, they both have issues.
Yes.
Their issues are so complementary in the most toxic way possible.
Yeah. So anyway, she's like, oh shit, I have to tell him about my past.
But before she tells him about her past, she sees pictures of him at that dinner she couldn't go to.
Yes.
And he was with Magdalena. And she looks at her like he's in love with her.
Yes.
But it turns
Wait. And at the same time, this asshole, like Page 6 is also writing about her because they got a picture of her saying goodbye to Carrie. So they're writing like, oh, she's just getting him for his millions, but this other dude is her real love, and, you know, she's stringing along all the blows. It's like a whole thing. And so she's going to go out to lunch with her boss at the Bryant Park Grill, okay? And he's like, I'll make sure she gets there. And she's like, I want to go with my boss, god damn it.
In front of his business associates?
Yeah.
In the middle of the lobby, he grabs her and he's like, no, I'll make sure she gets... The secondhand embarrassment.
Yes.
I was feeling.
Like, he grabs her by the arm and then puts her into his Bentley or whatever the fuck. And so they get to Bryant Park because she's like, get the fuck away from me. Because in the car, he's like, is Carrie in love with you? And she's like, what? What are you talking about? And also, how do you have any fucking right to ask me that kind of question when that picture of Magdalena and you exists and you look at her with goddamn hearts in your eyes like she hung the moon? What the fuck? And he's like, no, you don't understand. This was like that moment in Clueless and Pride and Prejudice and all the other adaptations of Pride and Prejudice where the girl thinks that like the picture of her is special to the Reverend, but it's because the other girl, like, painted it or took the picture or whatever. You know what I mean? Because he's like, I'm not looking at her. I'm telling her that I'm going home to you. And I can't be held responsible for what my face looks like when I'm thinking about us being alone together. She's just like, you expect me to believe that? And he's like, yeah, I do. And she's like, actually, yeah, that checks out quite a bit.
Yeah,
But don't
actually, that strikes me as completely... Because guess what? It is accurate.
Yeah.
This man is obsessed with you.
Meanwhile, they're actively grappling on the sidewalk. She is trying to get away from him, and he's pulling her back by the waist. Like, they're having a public physical altercation where she is like, get the fuck away from me. And he's like, no, I'm panicking right now, and you have to fix it for me. So anyway, they finally end up like making out like crazy on the sidewalk once like everything's in the clear. And she's like, I still have to tell you that thing about me. And he's like, okay, well, can I get inside you first, though? She's like, probably, yeah. And then she goes to lunch with her boss.
Yeah, so it's that night, and she shows up, and she is telling Gideon about it. So essentially what her history is content.
Crazy content warning.
Yeah, content warning. Childhood sexual assault by another...
Child. Question mark.
He's
by another
2 years
youth.
old. He's 2 years... No, not youth TM, according to HPHQ.
Oh, no.
But he's 2 years older than her. He was her stepbrother, and her father, or her, whatever, it doesn't matter. It was her stepbrother.
Yeah.
And he starts raping her.
He starts
12.
abusing her at 10. She's
No.
10.
Was
yeah.
it 10?
Yes.
Okay, so she was 10, and it finally ends when she's 14.
Yeah.
Because she ends up having to go to the hospital.
Once again, I'm sorry, wait really quick before we get to that. Once again, this fucking guy. We talked about this in our bonus episode for the Opposites Attract series, where like a character responds in a way that I don't love when somebody discloses a sexual assault. And this wasn't as bad, but he was like, well, did you tell anyone? Did anyone know? And she's like, and I'm sick of people putting that kind of pressure on historical children. You know what I mean? Like asking an adult if their child self figured out a way to disclose to somebody is a really delicate topic. And it's
not even like anybody who has experienced sexual assault, period. It is, you don't get to shame them or make them feel like belittled for not talking to anybody about it.
Exactly. But
not...
Trauma Olympics, once again, because she says, I almost figured out a way to like get the nerve to tell my mom, and he figured it out. And so content warning for animal cruelty and abuse and moida.
Oh, I forgot about that, yeah.
He breaks her cat's neck and puts it on her bed as a warning. Yeah. But she finally, at 14, ends up having to go to the hospital because she thinks she's having a really bad period. But her mom is worried.
Yeah,
turns
that's
out
what it was.
She had...
It's a miscarriage.
Well, content warning. Oh. Sorry for loss of a pregnancy. She ends up... Yeah, what was happening is that she was miscarrying a fetus.
Yeah.
And then they found all of the evidence of past trauma to her whole body. And it's terrible.
Her mom immediately leaves.
Yes.
She's like, I'm done with this marriage. Gets her out of the situation completely, which is great. Although the problem is there's like a money trail, because it's like, well, why did the mom get away from this relationship with $2 million and the daughter got away with it with $5 million?
Yeah.
And it's this whole thing.
And she's like, I don't touch that money. Yeah.
Both stepdads covered all of the tracks as much as they could, but like there's only so much that it can be hidden. It's still
public record.
For somebody.
It was the hospital, they're mandatory reporters, so they told child services. And so the records have been sealed and like people have been bribed and like all the business. But she says, I need you to know this, because if a reporter works hard enough and gets lucky, there's going to be a lot of stuff that comes out that's going to be embarrassing for you. And he says, what in the world? And this is where I was like, Gideon Cross forever. He's like, there's nothing about this that would be embarrassing to me at all. Like, in fact,
Yeah.
like, if that happens, I will go scorched fucking earth on the entire publication that prints something
That
like that.
reporter,
They're
dead.
done.
That
Done.
publication, dead.
Yeah.
Dead in the water. It was really good.
It was
that
really
was
great. Yeah.
But then he looks at her essentially with like pity in his eyes, and she is not okay with it.
Yeah.
And tells him that, and she's like, "That is exactly why I didn't want to tell you. I don't want you to look at me with pity. I don't want you to look at me
differently.
hesitant to fuck my sexy body that used to make your dick hard."
Yeah.
And then he whips it out.
She's like, is this hard enough for you?
Yeah, she gets naked. She takes off her little roby robe, and she's like, is this like,
look at
do
this
I not
body.
turn you on anymore? And then he gets up and he whips that dick out, and he's like, does this look hard enough for you? And then they go at it like feral animals on the couch again.
Yeah. And then afterwards, he's like, hey, will you hold me? Because now, just like you needed to know that you were still sexy, I need to know that you still like me, even though I went full feral caveman on you just now, and I totally lost control. And she's like, no, I loved it when you lost control.
He fucks her before she's even fully wet. Like, it was great. Frankly.
Yeah, everybody loved it.
That's where we're going to leave off for today. Tomorrow, we'll be back with the next part of these two Nutter Butters story. Heaving Bosoms is produced by us, Melody Carlisle and Sabrina Bradley. Editing is done by me, Melody Carlisle. Our theme music is by the incredible singer-songwriter Brittany Fonts, and our art is by the ultra-talented author Kate Pryor. If you like our show, remember to follow us on your favorite podcast app, rate us 5 stars, and leave a review. That one small action is a huge way to help the show. If you want to get in touch with us for advertising inquiries or anything else, you can email us at heavingbosomespodcast@gmail.com. If you want more of us, visit patreon.com/heavingbosomspodcast. You can also find us on Instagram at Heaving Bosoms, on TikTok at Heaving_Bosoms, and in our Facebook group, the Heaving Bosoms Geriatric Friendship Cult. See you tomorrow.